Has Netanyahu's old gamble on Daesh-linked figures returned in a larger form, with 5 armed groups now reportedly operating across Gaza? Has Israel's shadow war inside Gaza been exposed, raising questions over who is really fighting alongside the IDF against Hamas? Are Israel-backed militias becoming Gaza's new proxies, after even an Israeli Air Force officer raised alarms over their alleged conduct? Did gunmen shoot, loot, and burn Palestinian homes, while Israeli forces provided protection from above during their operations? Have Netanyahu's militias become an operational arm of the IDF and Shin Bet, blurring the line between state forces and armed proxies? With 5 armed groups and hundreds of gunmen, is Israel building a shadow force to operate deep inside Gaza? Trump wants Gaza disarmed, but could Netanyahu's armed militias now become a major obstacle to the next phase of his plan? As Gaza peace talks stall, Israel's militia project is reportedly expanding deeper inside the Strip, creating a new armed layer in areas divided by the Yellow Line. A new Haaretz investigative report revealed that 5 armed Palestinian groups now operate under Israeli control, with bases spread across several strategic areas of Gaza. The militias now function as an operational arm of the IDF and Shin Bet, according to Haaretz, with Israeli security forces reportedly providing coordination and support. The groups operate in Beit Hanoun, Shujieh, Deir al-Bala, Khan Yunis, and Rafah, extending the reported network from northern Gaza to the southern border zone. The militia bases sit near the yellow line dividing IDF and Hamas-controlled territory, positioning the fighters inside or alongside Israeli-held sections of the enclave. The location allows gunmen to launch operations deeper into Hamas-controlled areas, while remaining close enough to Israeli positions for logistical and military backing. Militia bases reportedly sit only hundreds of meters from IDF outposts, placing the armed groups in close proximity to Israeli military positions. Gunmen reportedly use Israeli army radio call signs, suggesting direct coordination with IDF personnel during operations within the Gaza Strip. Militias reportedly appear on IDF briefing maps, indicating that their locations and activities are incorporated into Israeli operational planning. Fighters are reportedly marked in command systems, allowing Israeli forces to identify the gunmen while they move through operational areas. Some militia compounds have IDF-style barriers, reflecting the level of fortification and reported Israeli involvement in setting up their bases. Israel reportedly built temporary militia compounds, establishing protected sites for fighters operating under the broader anti-Hamas project. Some equipment reportedly comes from Israel, including weapons, communications gear, and other material needed to sustain the armed groups. Fighters reportedly take part in IDF operations, acting alongside or under the protection of Israeli forces during missions targeting Hamas-controlled areas. United Nations data cited by Haaretz linked some gunmen to the forced displacement of Gazan families, as armed groups allegedly pushed residents from areas near the Yellow Line. An Israeli Air Force officer said gunmen shot at people, looted homes, and burned them, describing conduct he said unfolded while Israeli forces gave the groups protection. An Israeli Air Force officer said, and I quote, "We saw them arrive in 2 or 3 pickup trucks, very similar to Hamas trucks. They just ran and shot at people. They entered every structure, looted everything they could get their hands on, came out with piles of stuff, and then burned down the house. You see the state of Israel, the IDF and Shin Bet sending armed, trained militias to commit war crimes, and I'm the one who has to protect them during their operation so they don't get hurt." Unquote. Israel first considered using Gaza clans as an alternative to Hamas early in the war, seeking local armed partners to challenge Hamas's authority in Israeli-held areas. Netanyahu admitted activating clans in 2025, saying Israel had worked with Gaza groups opposed to Hamas on the advice of security officials. Yasser Abu Shabab led the Popular Forces, the largest and most prominent militia within the network of armed anti-Hamas groups. Abu Shabab was described by critics and several reports as Daesh-linked, though the reported links have been contested and were largely associated with networks in Sinai. The UN linked the group to systematic aid looting, amid allegations that humanitarian supplies were seized as they passed through southern Gaza. The project reportedly expanded after Abu Shabab's death, with other groups continuing to operate and the broader network evolving in Gaza. The expansion reportedly surged after the October 2025 ceasefire, as the militia network gained a larger operational presence in Israeli-controlled territory. 5 major armed groups now reportedly operate in Gaza, according to the Haaretz investigation, with their bases distributed across the Strip. Some groups reportedly have hundreds of gunmen, creating a network that could field substantial numbers of armed fighters against Hamas. Militias claim attacks on Hamas fighters, presenting themselves as anti-Hamas forces while receiving reported Israeli protection and support. Hamas weapons were reportedly seized by militias, according to the report, as the groups operated in contested areas and conducted raids against Hamas-linked targets. The militia project is now colliding directly with Trump's next phase for the Gaza plan, as questions grow over who would disarm and control the armed groups. Hamas says it will not give up defensive weapons while Israel-backed militias remain armed, linking any future disarmament to the removal of these groups. Trump's July plan links Hamas disarmament with IDF withdrawal and militia disarmament, making the proxy network a central obstacle in negotiations over Gaza's future. Netanyahu rejected the plan, while 8 Arab and Muslim states condemned the decision, widening diplomatic pressure over the proposed next steps. Jared Kushner arrived in Israel last week as U.S. envoys pushed for a Gaza breakthrough, seeking movement on the planned security and political arrangements. The militia's future may now hinge on Trump's pressure and Netanyahu's diplomatic choice, as Washington seeks to move its Gaza framework beyond the current impasse. As tensions reignite between Hamas and Israel, the IDF now faces a new challenge as aerial launches from Gaza increase. Israel is alarmed by a spike in balloon, kite, and drone launches from Gaza towards southern Israeli communities, raising fresh security concerns. In retaliation, Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz ordered a total crackdown on Gaza's balloon launchers, signaling a tougher response. Katz ordered the IDF to act forcefully, including against Hamas leaders allegedly organizing or directing these launches. Israeli forces have been given the green light to respond with significant force inside the Gaza Strip, according to reports. This includes targeted strikes against Hamas leaders or those allegedly behind drone, balloon, and kite launches from Gaza. The IDF can also reportedly evacuate neighborhoods and areas in the Gaza Strip where these launches are taking place. Israel Katz claimed every launch from Gaza will be considered an act of war, regardless of the type of aerial device involved. The Israeli defense minister also alleged that his forces will not allow any return to the conditions that existed before October 7. The Israel defense minister said, and I quote, "We consider every launch an act of war in every respect, and we are committed to ensuring the absolute defense of Israeli communities. A balloon is treated like a kite, and a kite like a drone, whether or not it is carrying explosives. We will not allow a return to the reality that existed before October 7. Anyone who organizes, launches, or permits these launches will be dealt with immediately and with the utmost severity." End quote. On August 23, Israel carried out massive airstrikes across the Gaza Strip despite the ongoing ceasefire, escalating fears of renewed fighting. An Israeli airstrike on a building caused a massive explosion and widespread destruction in Gaza's Zuwaydah, according to reports. The 2 separate airstrikes killed at least 2 people in Gaza, including a 4-year-old boy, according to AP.
Upgrade your news experience with the all-new HT app. Download now.